Hello, friends! Welcome once again to a very special Panel Jumper LITE. My name is Ben. With me, as always, is my friend, the Panel Jumper himself, Mr. Cole Hornaday. How are you, Cole?
Hey, Ben Lawrence, doing fine, doing fine. How are yourself?
Doing pretty good. You know, it was a nice warm day here in Seattle, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And let's start off. This is a very special day because it's the original date of the Panel Jumper Live chapter. Help me out, chapter 9.
Nine. This is going to be our ninth installment of the Panel Jumper Live Cabaret event. And
Yeah,
for
and
obvious
so
reasons, it's got to be canceled.
so that's obviously not happening.
Yep.
So we thought we'd do something special for everybody and show you in a very exclusive engagement of the latest episode, which we'll talk about in a bit. But that's coming up. That's what's called a teaser. But before we get going, Cole, I wanna just talk about a couple things that was in the comics news lately. And there's one more thing. So our Panel Jumper Live for September was going to be, or it was actually on our friend Chris Cassow's birthday. And just by happenstance, this Panel Jumper Live was going to be on our friend Manager Mike's birthday. So
Right.
happy birthday, Manager Mike.
Manager Mike.
Yeah, fill up the chat with a happy birthday, Manager Mike. I see some people are already doing it.
Excellent.
All right, so yeah, a couple bit of Star Wars news. I want to get your opinion on. The first thing is news that came out last week, and that is that
Eee. Yes.
Taika Waititi, I believe it's pronounced Waititi, is he's been signed to direct the next theatrical Star Wars movie, which came as a surprise because I thought there wasn't going to be another Star Wars theatrical movie. I thought Lucasfilm / Disney has kind of put the brakes on that.
Oh, who knows? You know, they probably looked at their numbers. They looked at their money from the Rise of Skywalker and said, "Yeah, we need to generate some more cash flow." So, who knows? I love the idea that he's going to be doing it. He reinvigorated the Thor franchise in ways we did not expect. He is a brilliant creator because he can walk this line between tragedy and comedy and in a whole new way. I think he's a frighteningly smart creator. I thought I was going to despise Jojo Rabbit, and I thought it was one of the most beautifully ironic satires I've ever seen. It's just about the smartest movie I've seen in decades. And well, the Thor movie goes without saying. And What We Do in Shadows is, stands head and shoulders above the majority of docucoms. What do we call that genre now? Docucoms, mockumentaries.
Mockumentaries, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a genre that's been around for some time. Taika's career trajectory is really interesting because, yes, he did do What We Do in Shadows. He directed episodes of Flight of the Conchords back in their original HBO days. He directed a movie called, I think it's Hunt for the Wilder People, which is an independent New Zealand movie, which I haven't seen, but I hear good things. And that movie had a budget of like $9 million. And so he went from directing this independent, $9 million movie, all of which probably went to Sam Neill's salary, to the multi-$100 million Thor franchise. He must have had a secret on somebody at Marvel.
Yeah, well, it's kind of mind-boggling when someone takes that kind of creative leap. I would be under so much incredible stress. I would just turn into a little black cinder. I would just compress like a pulsar and just die. I can't imagine taking something like that on. But, Peter Jackson did the same thing. He was making all these micro-budget Mondo Bizarro horror films and getting grants for his weird stuff he was making for New Zealand public television. And then he got handed like a boatload of money for the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine.
Taika will be co-writing the movie as well. He's going to co-write it with Christy Wilson Cairns, who wrote 1917, another movie that I haven't seen, but I'm looking forward to seeing. Speaking of Kiwis, news just broke today that Tamira Morrison, who we all know as Jango Fett from the prequels, it's confirmed he's Boba Fett in The Mandalorian Season 2.
Yeah, that's going to be wild. Ben and I Ben, have you finally got to watch all the first season of The Mandalorian?
Yes, just finished it like a couple days ago.
Yeah, I sat and watched. I binged the whole season in one night when I finally got my hands on it. Thank you, Denny Chong. I want all Star Wars to be like The Mandalorian now. It's like, there is a universe, there's a sandbox we can play in, and we don't have to pay fan service. We don't have to recognize the other story threads or anything. Like, we can do our own thing. And I loved everything about The Mandalorian. Yes, we get Easter eggs. Yes, you get a little bit of reward for being a fan of the Star Wars universe. But all told, it's a whole new place to play in. And what I'm concerned about is that, I really like Mando. He's an honorable being. But the Mandalorians we met prior to Mando, Boba Fett and Jango Fett, they are disreputable creatures. But Boba Fett has always been a big fan hero. I mean, he has everybody loves Boba Fett. I'm like, why? He's kind of a creep, and so is his old man. And they're clones of one another, so they're kind of both creeps, So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to what's going to happen with that for sure.
Yeah, I'm a little confused because I thought that Season 2 of Mandalorian was in the can, so maybe this is just leaked information?
Maybe,
I know that Season 3 has been greenlit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, maybe it is, because we haven't, they haven't told us anything of what's going to happen in Season 2, so maybe they're trickling out tidbits for us.
Yeah. That is all the news that I have to discuss today. It's all just specifically Star Wars because Monday was Star Wars Day, and so that's it's kind of infiltrated all the comic geekery news. Anyway, like we said, today was the original date of the Panel Jumper Live, and true to form, I finished the Panel Jumper episode just before airing. But this is a special one. This is on stage. Cole, I'm gonna give a little bit of the game away. On stage, we were gonna play that. This was something that we found. That this is something that we had there was a tape. It was recorded off of a VHS, one airing on a
local community access.
Community access, exactly.
Right.
So, but we are hard at work at an actual Panel Jumper live streaming show, of which this video will be a part of, and you can see it there if you miss it here. But this is going to be television. If you don't see it in the moment, you're not going to see it again. This video, what we're doing now, is not going to be on YouTube, but we're going to take it off YouTube because we want the actual, premiere to be during the actual live streaming show with all the other guests and bits that we've been working on. So, Cole, do you have anything you want to say about this before we watch it?
Not really. I want to, when we, post screening of this episode, we will invite our collaborator Rachel Jackson on board, and we're going to talk about the genesis of this episode because it's quite unusual, and some of the philosophy I put into it and how it all came about. But I don't want to give too much of it away now. I want you just to enjoy it, and not be too creeped out, hopefully.
Yeah. So when we come back, we will be joined by collaborator on this episode, Rachel Jackson. So let's watch this video and enjoy, everybody.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Cole's Corner, that special place where we can cozy up with a nice little story and just not let the world bother us for a while. Today, I'm going to share with you a forgotten classic, EC Comics Psychoanalysis. That's right, psychoanalysis.
Hi, friend.
Oh, well, hello, Greta. So glad you could join us. How are you today?
Rotten as last week's goose gizzards. Traffic was terrible, and getting here was an absolute nightmare. I burned more gas idling than traveling, and why is it that every moron in the world decides to get behind the wheel of their car when I am running late? Stay in your lane, you.
That's terrible, Greta. I'm sorry you had such a bad morning, but we have friends waiting for us to tell them a story.
Sure. What are we reading again? Psychoanalysis? Oh, it's my favorite topic.
I thought you'd be pleased.
Yeah, like a couple hours on the couch will solve all your mental health woes. Take it from me, little friends. Emotional wounds never truly heal. Hold on before you dive into that trek. Mama's gonna need a dose of her little helper.
Greta, we talked about the controlled substances.
Spare me. You're not the one signing my checks. Ah, sweet velvet surrender.
We're paying her? Anyway, like I said, today we're going to talk about EC Comics psychoanalysis. As some of my students of the Stupendously Stupid may recall, in the mid-1950s, EC Comics was at the forefront of a media witch hunt commonly known as the Kefauver hearings or the Senate Subcommittee on Juvenile Delinquency. EC came under fire due to its popular host of audacious crime and horror comics. And thanks to a series of claims made by preeminent child psychologist Dr. Frederick Wortham, parents across the country were quickly convinced their children would be psychologically scarred from reading funny books. The hearings resulted in the comic book industry adopting the Comics Code of Authority, a rigid code of censorship that trampled the medium and squelched its potential for decades. Soon thereafter, nearly all of EC's current titles were canceled. Publisher William Gaines struggled to keep his company aloft by giving the American public his new direction in magazines, stories that were wholesome, unthreatening, and tragically boring. As a regular participant in psychoanalysis himself, Gaines thought the process would be informative, if not inspiring, to readers. And in all honesty, he probably had just as much experience with the practice as his nemesis, Dr. Wortham.
Cut to the chase, you pompous, bloviating windbag.
Oh, dear, sweet and creepy Greta, you don't look well. Are you crashing?
Don't worry, I got something for that, too. Oh. I can see the eye of God!
Going to the light, Greta! Puppets. Where were we? Oh, yes. Psychoanalysis focused on three patients. Freddie Carter, a teenager caught in a James Dean rebel without a cause crossfire between his parents' conflicting expectations. Ellen Lyman, a beautiful young woman tormented by the belief that she is unattractive and unlovable. And Mark Stone, an overweight, misogynist screenwriter who internalizes his deep resentment of his immigrant parents by overeating and emotionally abusing women. Our host and narrator through these dreary stories is known only as the psychiatrist. Here, let's read a little bit more. In his final episode, Mark Stone relates to the psychiatrist that he is plagued by the belief he shot and killed another man during a solo hunting trip, but no such incident was ever reported to the authorities. The psychiatrist convinces Stone he fired at nothing more than a projection of his subconscious mind.
Offhand, I would venture to say nobody was in the brush that day. It was just a shadow. You imagined the movement. Imagine the scream. You imagined you killed someone that day because you subconsciously wished you could. Who? Who would I want to kill? Your father. But why would I want to kill my own father? For the same reason that led you to despise your mother, despite her love for you. Because your father was an immigrant. Your own misguided hostility leads you to hate him for bringing you into this hostile, unthinking world. For making you what you are. In your mind, you wanted to punish him for that.
Then the psychiatrist oversimplifies Stone's resentment by pointing out how self-absorbed he's been and chastises him by saying,
The world is full of cruel realities. Psychoanalysis won't change that world, but it can help you deal maturely and sensibly with your own problems. It can help you to accept the mixture of good and evil in all people.
And yada yada yada, blah blah blah, and then Stone admits how childish he's been and says,
I guess that's been my whole trouble. I've been afraid to accept responsibilities and failures. Something happens and I run back to my mother by stuffing my face, or I blame it on my ancestry and hate my parents for giving it to me, and then feel guilty for hating them. I guess I just haven't grown up.
And then wham, bam, spam in a can, Mark Stone attains instantaneous emotional maturity and is immediately cured. End of story. Running barely 4 issues, Psychoanalysis reads like sanitized therapy session transcripts and attained dreary new lows of tedium. That in the book was a tragic waste of the talents of legendary illustrator Jack Kamen. It goes without saying, the therapeutic process as depicted in Psychoanalysis is nothing less than hackneyed. Patients are cured in a sparse handful of couch sessions, with each resolution ultimately foisting blame on the subject's parents. Serious and more authentic causes of mental illness like neglect, emotional and sexual abuse, PTSD, or psychosis are completely overlooked.
Oh my God, it's full of stars!
Down in front, Greta. Considering the entire saccharine tragedy of EC's New Direction line, one has to wonder if it wasn't orchestrated by publisher William Gaines to prove a point. No child, let alone an adult, would find a single panel of Psychoanalysis entertaining or even interesting. Perhaps by appearing to give in to the draconian demands of Congress and the comic book industry, Gaines sought to demonstrate the heavy-handed fecklessness of censorship at his own expense.
The heat death of the universe is upon us.
Well, friends, that's all we have time for today. Thank you for joining us at Cole's Corner. We hope you learned something new today to help keep your personal failings at bay. Now we've got to get Greta to the doctor and have her little felt stomach pumped.
Gravity has lost its meaning.
Hush now, my shuddersome little lady from another grinning soul. Soon this will all pass into a dream. Let's see what these are. These are M&Ms.
Yeah, the peanut kind. Woof.
We'll see you next time.
And that was it.
Yay!
Thanks for joining us, Rachel.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you. So, my first question to you two is, what the heck did we just watch?
I'm going to blame this all on Rachel.
Yay! My fault. Definitely.
Yeah. All on Rachel and her husband Bob's shoulders. It's all them. We were participating in a play reading series called Copious Loves Plays on Tap at Solo Bar last winter.
In the before times. I don't know.
4 times.
It's all one.
And Rachel and Bob started brainstorming alternate. I don't know if I said I need to come up with some different format panel jumper episodes, because we're looking at doing a shorter episode for the next show, so I can front load some time for me to put a catalog of scripts together. Yeah, because I'm that well organized. And Rachel and Bob started spitballing this idea of a children's show.
Yeah, you got a few cocktails in us and gave us an idea, and then we're just like, wee! And of course, puppets got involved because I was there. So yeah.
I don't think it had anything to do with ideas in you. I think it had more to do with your runaway horses.
Wee! But yeah, we were aiming to solve the problem of what can we do that's shorter, shorter but still like very Cole-centric and yeah.
So, but at the same time, I had just read an article in the I think it's June 2017 issue of the Fortean Times, which is, the only periodical that's not a comic book that I read on a regular basis. But there was this piece on this art movement out of the UK called hauntology. It's kind of derived from, it's a British concept in art, in film, music, art, illustration, that's drawn from children's TV and public information films of the 1970s. Because people growing up watching this stuff on the BBC experienced these film pieces that were suffused with like this sense of melancholy and disquiet. Now, when you guys have a chance, go to YouTube and look up a British TV series called Bagpuss, Baguss. And there was another series called Pendus Fen. But bear in mind, these are children's programs that were made before there was any type of children's educational oversight in television, both in the UK and the States. And I saw a lot of these kind of films on public television when I was a child, and they are dark, dour, and creepy. And the thing about hauntology, one of the takeaways I got from it is that hauntology offered us a future that we never received, and that's probably for the best. Consider the people making these children's programs based on their concept of what a child needed to feel safe and comfortable, and what they wound up doing was creating a lot of very, very creepy stuff. Go look at this stuff if you have a chance, and then consider how Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street and Zoom and all those shows were developed later through the Children's Television Workshop. This stuff was all made by people that think that this is how children see the world. But the truth of the matter is, they're a post-World War II culture. Then they were living in dark, 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 dark places. So that's my inspiration for what we did. Ben did an extraordinarily beautiful job of capturing that lost video look, the tonal. Ben, how did you do that? How did you get the color and the tonal quality?
Just trial and error. No, actually, the funny thing about old VHS looks is that we can record such high definition video these days. In fact, the camera we recorded that on can record in 4K. But everybody wants a faded look, an old VHS look. So there are a ton of tutorials out there, and I just found somebody on YouTube who did the color the way that I wanted it to look. And I found somebody had just basically recorded a half an hour of VHS noise. And so I just have this clip of like VHS noise. I just laid over that, played with it until I got it to look the way I wanted to look. But yeah, it's really interesting how we seem to be progressing in our technology, but regressing in our sensibilities.
And there's a hauntological aspect to that, Ben, my friend.
So my next question is the puppet.
Tell us about Greta.
Oh, okay. Hey, Greta. So Greta, let's see. Cole got me a doll, specifically to become Greta, and so I had to cut her head off. So this is the doll that used to have a head and that doesn't now, and just kind of hangs out by my computer. So I took the head off. Don't worry, puppets and dolls don't feel pain. And yeah, as far as I know. And then I built her little body, a little hand puppet body. The dress was a work in progress, definitely. I think I was working on that till the night before the shoot. But yeah, the fun part was the face and making her face creepier because for starters, doll faces are creepy. They just are. While I build puppets, I usually don't work with dolls to build the puppets because they're a little creepy. But she wasn't quite creepy enough. So there were a couple of texts where photos went back and forth between the lot of us with me saying, is this creepy enough? And the answer was no. And I was like, okay, is this creepy enough? And until we got Greta to this nicely goth creepy place. My apologies to anyone watching this who is freaked out by dolls.
You know, I don't know if I told you, but I have friends. Hi, Greta. We do have friends who noped out of this episode. They saw 1 or 2 photos that Benny Chong took during our shoot, and they just said, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to support you on this one, friends."
Yeah, I saw that comment. If it helps, her hair smells like fabric softener. You could imagine that. Did you ever watch it?
That's marvelous.
I had to do that to untangle it. It was hey, dolls you get from Goodwill have very tangled hair a lot of the time. Some fabric softener takes good care of that.
So the setup for this episode was that it was a lost artifact, but I am already kind of brainstorming in here other Cole's Corner episodes with Greta and probably more of Greta's creepy friends.
Yay! One of my ties into it, since you were talking about, is it called hauntology? Is that the official word? Is that I had recently been playing a video game, which I highly recommend, called Control. And one of the Easter eggs buried in the game is 5 different episodes of this inter-bureau children's show that they invented that is monumentally disturbing. Like, the puppets they're more creepy than Greta, if you can imagine such a thing. And they're supposed to be helping children feel comfortable with the extremely weird stuff that's happening in this video game. And it's just, I was delighted. Like, I did a few missions I didn't have to, because if I found out I would get these puppet videos. So it's everywhere.
What's the name of the video game again?
Control. I love it. So good.
And then when I was brainstorming with you where the hauntology aspect was concerned, did not you send me YouTube videos for the British experimental puppet troupe that does the show called, is it called Don't Touch Me, I'm Scared?
Yes. I think I sent you a couple of those, which I love those.
Oh my goodness. Puppets have never really made me uncomfortable because, hey, I grew up with Sesame Street and Muppets and whatnot. But if you can push that button, and Don't Touch Me, I'm Scared has that hauntological quality about it. And lo and behold, it's made by puppeteers in the UK. So go.
Right. Although I feel like Wonder Chosen was kind of playing in this neighborhood. But there's an interesting line between people making fun of Sesame Street, which is our United States version of this. Right. And I do see that the UK stuff is melancholy. Is that the word you used earlier? Yeah, I think the melancholy kind of sneaks up on you from the UK stuff, and it's very interesting the way that works.
The thing that touched me most is, and I'll kind of like just homogenize it from this article, is hauntology says, imagine a future that the children who grew up watching these programs live in. And fortunately, that future never came. But a lot of the design concepts, like, can you see the book cover graphics? Can you see that? No, I can't.
No.
Pull it up.
Up a little.
to your left. This is the worst TV ever.
It's like they're made to look like textbooks from the 70s, but they're not. They're just creepy. But there's also a lot of music. This hauntology inspires a lot more music than say graphic art and filmmaking. So I want to make some more hauntological Cole's Corner episodes, and that'll be my contribution to the tomorrow that never will be.
Ooh. I just realized I need to say happy birthday to Manager Mike. I was not here when you said that earlier, so happy birthday, Manager Mike.
Can Greta say happy birthday?
Oh, good. Well, give me a sec. I have to put her back on. My hand.
So I just want to say
happy birthday, Manager Mike.
From a functional standpoint,
yes.
Filming with a doll's head as opposed to a actual person or a puppet is that ADR is super convenient because you don't have to lip sync. You can even change the entire words of what the puppet is saying. I'm wondering if they did that for some of these old cartoons. I'm thinking like, not cartoons, but puppet shows like Thunderbirds Are Go. Do you ever remember watching that? They didn't have movable mouths, did they?
Yep. They had. You can see the Jerry Anderson movies. It's Joe 90 and the Thunderbirds and Yeah, they had very, very limited mobility. I mean, you weren't really there to watch the puppets; you're there to watch the cool spaceships and things. But yeah, they just had these very limited motility with their lips. Hey, before we get too far down the road to the door, let's give a shout out to Raymond Williams and James Weidman for doing exceptional voiceover work for the psychoanalysis dramatizations. Those are superb.
Hey.
Yeah.
Superb.
Yeah, I'm having a fancy cocktail actually. So Raymond has instituted Fancy Cocktail Friday on Facebook. So you know, that's why there's a lemon slice.
My drink won a blue ribbon at some point. They're still really proud of that. Yeah. Ray and James were super sports. It just turned out that I could record them both at the same time. Normally that's not really possible, but they came into the office and I had them read it a number of different ways, and they just they nailed it each time. Actually, I had them read from the physical comic, not just from the script, so they can actually see the words that are bolded, and I just had them punch some of those words. Like one of the things is like Mark Stone he's ashamed that he's an immigrant. He's ashamed of his heritage. And so the psychiatrist, the word immigrant is bold. That's why you hear the psychiatrist say, "Your father was an immigrant." That's how it's written.
Amazing.
Yeah, I appreciated that aspect of it. That was nice.
So, Rachel, a question from the chat. Susanna Burney wants to know, are you drinking vodka or gin?
Oh, crap. I'm about to lose a friend. I'm having vodka.
Hey,
I
Bernie,
hope it's still okay. It's Dretta's fault if we're mad.
It's okay. We're all in quarantine. It's, we have to make some rough choices right now. So.
I mean, the problem is the alcohol needs to go for the whole household, and one of us likes gin and the other one doesn't, but we both like vodka. That's really the answer there.
All right.
Also, it's James Bond drinks vodka, right? I think. Yeah. So, it's cool. I'm going to go kill some people later. I'm not going to do that.
You heard it here first.
Sorry, you
folks. Good thing this video is going to be taken down.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of this video, just a little bit of housekeeping news. We will put this video back up after the Panel Jumper live stream, after this episode is posted online for Reels. I just want to make sure that we don't, jump the gun when it comes to spoiling our audience. Right. So, anyway, do we have any final thoughts, friends, before we call it an evening?
No. Just please keep your eyes open for the Panel Jumper live streaming event we are putting together. We have been trying to figure out ways to incorporate all the artists that we booked for the original live show that was supposed to have been presented this evening. And we have put together some really, really clever and outrageous sketches that are done within the confines of social distancing parameters. But yeah, and you will get to see this episode again, because it's not going to be available again until then. It's gone. It's back out into the ether. It's back into the vaults. Yeah, just like songing this out.
Can I pimp something else that is not Panel Jumper related? Yay!
Yes.
So I produce a local puppet slam in Seattle called Fussy Cloud Puppet Slam, and like everything else, it's going to have to go online. So May 29th, which is a Friday, I believe. It should be 3 weeks from now, if time had any meaning, which it doesn't. So, May 29th, Fussy Cloud Puppet Slam will be streaming live on a computer near you. So please look out for that, because we would love to have some eyeballs. Yours, we have our own.
Puppet eyeballs.
Puppet eyeballs.
Anyway, thank you for joining us. A couple other shout outs. I'd like to promote a couple things. Stay tuned to the Panel Jumpers Facebook page for information on the upcoming live stream with all the cool stuff we've already been talking about. Thank you to Annex Theater, which is where I am, which is the equipment that I'm using. Please, it's like many theaters in town, they had to close their doors to audiences, so they have a Patreon, Annex Theater, or patreon.com/Annex Theater. As well as just a shout out to Taproot Theater, which is where we got the chair from. And if we do more of these, we'll be doing more of those. Support Taproot. I do not know if they are fundraising at the moment, but I hope they are. And finally, Trial and Error Productions, which is a Panel Jumper supporter, and we appreciate all of their support. On behalf of Rachel Jackson, Cole Hornaday, thank you for joining us. Thanks for contributing to the chat. Tell your friends about this, and stay safe, and we will see you later.